Welcome to Swirl Culinary. This is Aaron and Miss Thomas. We watched the movie, now we are going to make the dish. We're going to do some Ratatouille today, okay? It's not going to end up looking like in the movie. They do it real fancy. They slice everything real thin with the mandolin. They lay it all out. Traditionally, this is going to be more of like a stew, so that's what ours is going to look like. If you guys want to do the fancy, be my guest, but I'm just going to teach you how to do that. Yeah. So let's go over some ingredients today. I'm just going to use one medium-sized yellow onion. I'm going to use a couple bell peppers. I'm going to do yellow and green today. If you use red or orange, cool. It's just going to bring more color to the dish. I'll use a little bit of zucchini and the yellow squash. Okay, so about 2 zucchini. You can do 2 yellow squash if you want. I'm just going to do 2 and 1. 1 medium-sized eggplant, just like that. Okay. About a pound of tomatoes. Whether your tomatoes are pretty big, it'll be about 3. If they're smaller, it'll be 4 to 5, okay? Always fresh ground pepper, salt, extra virgin olive oil, 1 bay leaf. Thyme, you can either use dried or fresh, does not really matter. I like using fresh herbs. I feel like the dried gives it a little more oomph, like they dry it and the flavors concentrate a little bit, so I normally use dried. 2 cloves of garlic today, and we're gonna use a little bit of fresh basil just for a finish at the end, all right? So let's go over equipment real quick, real easy. You need a big pot to put all your veggies. You need a bowl to put them in. We're gonna work in batches. If you have it, use a lid on your pot, okay? It'll help keep the moisture of the dish, all right? And then just a spoon to stir everything. Okay, so this is a really good recipe to work on your cutting. I mean, look at all these veggies. We're gonna have to really go through these. So get yourself a couple bowls. So let's just go over it while I'm cutting. What we're gonna do, make sure your stickers are off everything. So we're gonna work in batches basically, just to make sure everything gets cooked properly and you know, everything goes in at the same time basically. So what we're gonna do is working with eggplant. Eggplants are really cool. Okay, so we're gonna work with eggplant. Oh guys, remember, so I've washed all my veggies. So these are all washed, all good. If you're using whole veggies at home, make sure you wash them. You know, we're gonna cook it to temperature. I'm not worried about bacteria, but you know, I get a little concerned about maybe pesticides or wax they put on the outside of the veggies. So always make sure you wash your veggies really well, okay? Just go into the sink, give them a good hand rub, all right? So we're doing the eggplant, and we're just gonna cut nice little strips. So we're gonna do about a 1/4-inch dice for this. So what I wanna do, so basically I just cut my eggplant into maybe about 4 or 5 strips, all right? And then, so it comes off just like that. The seeds in the middle are absolutely fine, don't worry. When you get more comfortable, you can start to work in, you know, larger chunks, that's okay. So we're just gonna do a nice, about 1/4-inch dice today, all right? So you get your strips cut. So that, remember guys, this is called julienne. And then we're gonna dice right on through, about a 1/4 inch. So we wanna get our veggies all about the same size just so they all cook correctly. So you see, that's a dice like that. That's about a 1/4-inch dice. It's a nice sized chunk. Okay, right into a separate bowl on its own. Okay, and then we're gonna finish up the rest of this eggplant. If you don't like eggplant, you don't have to use it. It's not really gonna change the dish that much. It just traditionally calls for it. So, you know, if you don't think you like eggplant, try it, okay? If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's whatever, but.
It's good.
Huh?
I make it. It's really good.
Yeah, well, oh, you have some?
My wife makes a terrific cake. I'm borrowing this from you.
Oh, no, you can have it.
Okay guys, so our eggplant is cut and it's all in a, oh no, I got one little piece left, hold on. Forgot it. Strips, dice. Okay. Whenever you work in a restaurant, you're gonna have carts like this. A lot of them are wire or mesh. And basically you can just put everything on it and then you go to the stove all in one go. I wouldn't imagine you have these in your kitchen, but if you do, awesome, cool, go for it. Okay, so now we're gonna work with our zucchini. Zucchini's technically summer squash, but you can find it all year round. So all we're gonna do is cut it in half. Cut the zucchini in half from there. Okay, so we got our nice little, so that's a real rough julienne, but then what we do from here is we just cut it into a nice dice, okay? Into a separate bowl on its own. So we're just gonna do that to all our squash. This is a really good recipe for you guys to work on cutting. It's a lot of veggies to chop up. So you can sort of see. Ask for the head test. Okay, so we're keeping, so you guys can sort of see how they're about the same size. That's what I'm looking for, right? Okay. So we're just prepping our veggies. This is going to take you a good 15-20 minutes. It's better to do it all at once. You don't want to have to, well, your ratatouille is cooking, you don't want to have to come back and chop more veggies. So what we're doing right now, guys, is called mise en place. You've heard that term before. Everything in its place. We have everything ready to go when we're about to start cooking, all right? So that's our zucchini. Okay, let's do our squash. This is, you'll hear different names for this. Little neck squash, summer squash, yellow squash, okay? It's all basically the same thing. So you can sort of see how the neck tapers like that. That's why they call it little neck. So, and then, you know, these all have seeds in them. Don't worry about the seeds, okay? It's not going to change the dish today. There's some times where you might need to get the seeds out. Today is not one of them. Okay, and the yellow squash is going to go right in with the zucchini. Okay. Okay. So we have our eggplant, we have our zucchini done. Let's do our onion. Onion's really easy. It's one of the easiest things to cut if you know how. So this has got the peel on it. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the end, and when I get towards the end, I just tear, and you see how a little strip comes up? That gives me a seam so I can get it out later, okay? Just gonna do a little tear, and then we're just gonna find it where it gets brown. We're just gonna tear, okay? Okay guys, so we got our onion peeled. So what we're gonna do at this point is we're just gonna cut it right in half, okay? Right down the middle. Okay, work with 1/2 at a time. So I want these dices to be about the same size. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this into about thirds, but I wanna keep the onion together, all right? So you see how it's in thirds? Just like that. And now I just wanna just do nice dice. Okay, flip it down if it gets a little hard to work with. And so that way, it comes back together in a nice dice. Everything's diced, okay? Right into a separate bowl. Okay. Okay, we're gonna do the exact same thing to the other one. Cut it into basically thirds. Okay. Okay, we're gonna chop it down. So there we go. We got a nice dice on the onion. Okay, so we have our onion, our eggplant, and our squash. For the rest of the ingredients, it's all gonna go into a bowl of its own, okay? So bell peppers, make sure bell peppers are always gonna have a sticker on them, so always get that sticker off. Nobody wants to eat a sticker. Take the top, okay? And then you sort of see it like here. Just take your finger, run it along the ribs on the inside, and this should come right out, just like that, okay? You need to do a little cleaning up, go for it. Give it a pat on the bottom, get all the seeds out, and then just cut it right down the middle. And then we're just gonna cut strips. Remember, we want about 1/4 inch, so we're just gonna cut nice little strips. Okay, and then we're just gonna dice these. So, I want you guys, we worked on knife cuts, but remember, a julienne is the way to get to a dice. Cut it into strips, and then you get a dice out of it, okay? So this is called julienne, and then when we cut it, that's called dice. And the size of your julienne is going to decide the size of your dice, okay? So we're going to get our pepper up and in. Okay, let's do our green pepper. Look for a sticker. Yep, there's the sticker. Always on here. Okay. Same thing, cut the top. Run your finger along the inside. Just get all the insides out. Okay, so let's see how it's all cleaned like that. Perfect. Cut it right down the middle. Okay, we're just gonna cut nice little strips again. Now we're just gonna dice. And so guys, if you're not super confident with your cutting skills, it's gonna be okay. The veggies are gonna break down a little bit, but this is just a good recipe to work on them. So, you know, try your best, try to get everything as uniform as you can, okay? this, doing fajita veggies, all that stuff's really good prep. Really good work for your knife skills, okay? So I'm just gonna do this little cut, okay. So you see how my bell peppers are all right about the same size, right in there. Okay, we only got 2 more things to prep, our tomato. Okay, so tomatoes. You know, there's a couple, it doesn't matter the variety of tomato, okay? So just have about a pound of tomato. Cut it right down the middle. I don't care about this part. A lot of recipes, I would get this out. We would use a core. We'd get it out, but I'm not worried about it right now, okay? So what we're going to do, I want the insides for this recipe. It's going to bring a lot of juice and a lot of flavor to the dish. So try to keep the insides as whole as you can. This, they're going to break down. I'm just rough chopping these, okay? These are going to break down, so I'm not worried about what these look like. I just want to get them more manageable. Cut yourself some little strips. Nice little dice. Okay. And guys, real quick, if you can buy tomatoes on the vine, buy them on the vine. They end up being a lot fresher. So, you know, just a little heads up. So you can start to see the colors of this dish. It's going to have the red, the green, the yellow from the pepper. It's going to be a real colorful dish. If we cook it longer, it's going to break down and all the flavors will sort of meld. It'll look more like a stew, but you know, that sort of depends, and we'll talk about that when we do the cooking, okay? Tomatoes. Okay. One more tomato. Break it down. Just nice slices. Guys, very important. Anytime you're cutting tomatoes, use a very sharp knife or a serrated blade. The skin on the tomato is very, very, if it's a dull knife, it's not going to go through it and you have more of a chance to slip and cut yourself. So either use a serrated knife or a very, very sharp knife when you're cutting tomatoes, all right? Try to get all that juice in there. Okay, so now we're going to work on our garlic. So I just want 2 cloves of garlic. So easiest way to do garlic, guys, remember, it's still got the paper all over it. Put it on your cutting board, take your knife, press straight down until you hear a pop, okay? And it'll release right out of there. Okay, just like that. Same thing. Pop. Pick them out. Okay, at this point we're going to cut them into more manageable pieces, and then we're going to do a fine dice, a mince. A mince is a real fine dice, guys, okay? So you just, you know, take your knife and just run it through. Get it back, get the garlic off the blade, bring it back, just do a real fine mince. Garlic is one of those things that's so overpowering, you don't want giant bites of it. You want to taste it all throughout the dish. Okay. Make sure everything's really broken down. Okay, that's perfect. If you see a little piece of paper, get it out. So we're going to get this up, and it's going to go right into our tomatoes, right into our bell pepper, all right? So we have everything set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything on here. What we're going to need from this point is our olive oil, our salt, our pepper, and just for right now, a little bit of the thyme and the bay leaf, okay? And I'm going to bring this over. So we'll start cooking in a second. Okay, guys, so we got our sauce pot just heating up, okay? So I don't need it insanely hot, but I do want to saute some vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of olive oil right in there. So what we're going to do is saute. Saute just means lightly frying, basically. So we want to get the oil to the point where it starts shimmering and you know it's hot. If you start to see smoke coming off of there, yank it off the heat, okay? That means the oil has hit its smoke point, and that means it's burning. Just get a new pot, start fresh, because your dish is going to taste like smoke at that point. It's going to taste like burning. It's not good. So right now I just want to have my olive oil handy, my salt, my pepper, and my veggies. Okay, so I'm just going to angle this so I can use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook in batches. The reason we're going to do that is all these are different veggies and they all cook at different rates. Onions take longer than eggplant. Zucchini and eggplant take about the same. Red bell pepper takes a little bit. So we're going to do these in batches. Plus, if I was to dump these all in the pot, there's going to be vegetables sitting on top of vegetables, and the ones on the bottom will burn, and the top ones on the top will still be raw. So we just want to do this in batches today. So we're gonna start with our eggplant, okay? And we're just gonna put one in and see where we're at. You hear that sizzle? That's what I want, okay? Dump it in, and we're not trying to cook these fully. We're just trying to brown it. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper right over the top. So on this dish, we're going to season every step of the way. Salt and pepper for every addition, all right? So I want to make sure there's no eggplant sitting on top of eggplant. I want to make sure they're all sort of touching the bottom. So use the widest dish you can, all right? And we're just going to let these cook for a minute or two, just to sort of release some of those flavors, just to soften up a little, just a little to brown, all right? Like I said, have a big bowl handy, because once this eggplant's done, we're going to transfer it to a bowl. We're going to cook the zucchini, and when that's done, we're going to transfer it to that bowl as well. We're going to do the onion, we're going to transfer it to that bowl, and then we'll start adding stuff back in here, okay? So just at this point, give yourself a good stir. And we are just trying to get a light cook on these, okay? They're going to cook when they all come back together anyway. Okay, so it looks good. So at this point, I got a real light fry on these. Just gonna move them out. Okay, right into the bowl. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil, about another 2 tablespoons right into the bottom of this pan. Okay, it's still gonna be hot. So if your pan starts to get really hot, drop the temp a little bit. You know, just be mindful of how hot your pan is. Okay, zucchini in, a little salt. Probably about a teaspoon each time, okay? Pinch of pepper. This is where most of our flavor is going to come from, the salt and pepper. Same thing as before. Let them sit on the bottom. Let them pick up a little color. Don't have vegetables sitting on top of vegetables. In a perfect world, you want them all sitting on the bottom of the pan. Okay? And then it starts to release these smells, and it smells incredible. Like the zucchini. If you don't like zucchini, that's fine. You know, this is whatever you got in your fridge. If you have extra mushrooms, it would go well in this dish, stuff like that. Harder root vegetables, you're gonna have to cook them longer. You could absolutely probably do carrot in this dish. I would just saute it for a long time. Carrot takes a while. Okay. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, your pan's smoking." Whoa. It's not. This is steam coming off. The vegetables are releasing water, and it's hitting the hot pan, and it's evaporating, and steam's coming out. So there's a difference between smoke and steam. All right, smoke is a lot thicker. It like wafts a little differently. You'll know it as you start to cook more. Okay. Okay. Those are perfect. Right into my eggplant. Okay. A little more olive oil. Okay, now my onion are going to go in. So the onion is going to take 6 to 7 minutes. What we're trying to do is get it translucent, which means it almost turns opaque. You're not going to be able to see through it. That's never going to happen. But we want to cook these down pretty good, okay? So we'll check back in a couple minutes, and we'll see how our onions are looking. Guys, onions are looking really good. So this is something I want to mention too. The reason I do this all in one pot instead of using like a fry pan and moving it to a stock pot is, see all that stuff on the bottom? That little pieces of brown? That's all flavor, and I want to keep it in the same place. When we add a little bit of liquid to this, that's going to release, and it's going to come back into the stew, and it's going to end up really good. So onions go right into this pot with the eggplant and the zucchini. So try to get as much out as you can, okay? Okay, at this point we're going to add a little more olive oil. About another 2 tablespoons. Okay, and now we are going to dump in our tomatoes, our bell peppers, and our garlic, all right? So this is a little bit different. The bell peppers are going to stay a little more cooked, while the tomatoes are going to disintegrate basically, okay? This is where the juice in our ratatouille comes from. The tomatoes are basically going to break down, and that's what creates our liquid, all right? So, but use some different colored peppers. It adds a lot of color to it. A little salt, a little bit of pepper at this point, okay? A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. So remember, we season every step of the way. This is where the flavor starts to build on top of the flavor. So you can already see the juice sitting in the bottom of that pan. That's the tomatoes just starting to break down, all right? Okay. So we're gonna let these cook for a couple minutes and then we'll carry on. Guys, these have been cooking for about 2 minutes. You can see how much liquid these tomatoes have released. So they started whole and now it's like basically a soup at the bottom there. So at this point, we're almost done with our ratatouille. The rest is basically waiting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our 1 bay leaf right on in, okay? Don't chop up a bay leaf. Keep it whole so you can pick it out later, all right? We're gonna add about a teaspoon of the thyme. Okay. Right on in there. You can also use rosemary, you can use tarragon, you know, stuff, whatever you want to use. This dish lends itself well to a lot of different herbs. Okay, so we're gonna give this a stir. We're gonna drop the heat. We're gonna go medium-low at this point. So on a scale of 1 to 6, I'm at a 2. Keep stirring, and then we're gonna add our other veggies back on in, all right? Okay, we're gonna give it a stir, and then we're just gonna basically let it cook down, okay? If you cook this for about 20 minutes, the veggies are gonna stay pretty whole. Cook it for about 30 to 45, it's gonna start to break down. And then up to about 90 minutes, it's gonna turn really smooth, like silky and smooth. Everything's gonna sort of break down, and it's gonna be like a real stew-like consistency, okay? So we're gonna cook this for about 15 minutes and just see where we're at, okay? So we'll check back in a bit, guys. Real quick, guys, just a quick reminder. Once again, like I said, this is the steam escaping. At this point, I want to keep this pretty juicy, so this is where I'm going to put my lid on, okay? You know, all this water leaves, but if I put the lid on, it hits the top, you can see it like that, and then it all drops down back into there. If you're trying to reduce a liquid, you do it uncovered. If you want to keep the liquid, you put the top on. So make sure you keep your top on at this point, okay? It'll also help cook down the veggies a little bit quicker. Guys, so this one's been cooking about 15 minutes. I've been stirring it intermittently, and I want you guys to sort of see what it looks like. If you want to serve it at this point, that is absolutely fine. You can see how it's got a little bit of the liquid in it, but most of the veggies are still pretty whole, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this for the full 90 minutes, and then we're going to show it to you guys. So, check on it every once in a while, give it a stir. There's enough oil in here, I'm not worried about anything sticking. So you sort of see how all that stuff came up off the bottom and it went back into the soup. That's what we're looking for. There's like none of that stuff on the bottom anymore. But this is about after 15 minutes of cooking. If you want to serve it right now, you be my guest, but we're gonna keep cooking it and we'll see how it turns out. Okay guys, see you in a bit. That's right. Okay guys, so this one's been cooking about 60-70 minutes, so you can see how it's really broken down like that. It's become more stew-like. This is where I like it. If you like it with the veggies more whole, that's absolutely fine. So I'm gonna find my bay leaf, I'm gonna pick it out, and right here at the end, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little bit of fresh basil. I'm just gonna tear it up into there, okay? If you get some stem, that's okay, don't worry about it. We're just gonna tear it up, we're gonna give it a stir. This gives it a nice brightness, it adds the color, it adds the flavor. Okay, we're gonna give it a good stir. Okay. That's basically our ratatouille, so let's plate it and see what it looks like, okay? So you see how the vegetables are broken down. It's got that nice stew-like consistency. Yeah, so cook it however long you guys want. Just make sure the vegetables are cooked through, and then you are good. Serve this with a side of rice, do some chicken on the side. You guys are in business. All right, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, guys.